Okay guys, we are here, another project for a customer. We have a 2005 Nissan Xterra. We've got it running right now. We have service engine soon light on. She's seen better days. And if you look at that, that's not just condensation, that is blue smoke. She is not running too happy. So we're gonna get this thing into the shop and see if we can't help them out. Okay, so first thing I want to do before we get cracking on this thing is I want to see just exactly why that check engine light is on. Okay, there we go. So we can see on here that we have a P0306 confirmed and pending. So she's been misfiring. My tool's not working that well right now, it keeps disconnecting, but you get the gist. So here's our project for the next couple days. We have a 2005 Nissan Xterra. As you saw, it's kind of a little knocky, a little smoky. It's got a cylinder 6 misfire. The customer has just decided to purchase a low mileage long block, basically. This was a full engine, but lots of components are damaged, to swap into this vehicle. Now this long block is actually from a 2015, and these 4-liter Nissan engines actually were the same basically from about 2005 all the way up to almost 2018 with some of the different models. So you're gonna have to replace the intake manifold, sensors, and various components to make sure that it works good for us. But we're gonna get started by pulling the hood off, starting to rip things off and pull out the radiator and all the kind of big things that are in our way to get started. So we got the coolant draining right now, and if we take a little look-see under here, we can see a couple of things that are going on. The tank, the lower tank on this radiator has been leaking like a sieve, and we had a bunch of residual stuff on this splash guard down here. So we're gonna definitely replace this radiator as well. So here you can see our customer has some wheel locks that came with the car. These wheels came with them, the previous owner bought them. The current owner, customer, does not know where it is, so we're gonna get them off the old-fashioned way. So first I'm gonna take these little center cap covers off so I can have some more room to... We're gonna take a grinder, we're just gonna kind of take the paint off this a little. Being careful. Okay, so here we've got our solution to taking this off. We've got another lug nut here, and I'm gonna pop it on and we're gonna weld it off. Now I'm welded around about 2/3 of it, so that should be enough to get us loose. Just taking it off slowly there so I don't gouge up the customer's rim. So there you have it, everyone. That is how you take a wheel lock off without the key. Here we are on the driver's side wheel well, and we have removed the splash guard after welding that lock nut off, and this is going to allow us to get really good access into the exhaust manifolds where they bolt up to the catalytic converters. There you can see a bolt there, the other one there, and one down in there. We'll have a pretty good straight shot at them. You can see we've got room for days in here. I can stick the camera up and in. See, I can run my whole arm in there, so this is going to come out, should come out fairly simple. So we have done a little bit more work here. We've dug away and we've torn out the radiator, the shroud. We've got the alternator taken out, the power steering pump disconnected and pulled off to the side, the air compressor the AC compressor also torn out and off to the side right here. Now we're going to go through and take every single connector and mark it so that we know what it goes back to. I've got a 1 on here, a 2 on here, a 2 on here, and just to make sure when we get this harness taken off and plopped up on kind of like the windshield area, that we know where everything goes back to. So we'll get to that and get her done. Okay, so we have most of our harness on the driver's side up and out of the way. We have our intake manifold nice and loose. It should just pop right up and off. I think I got one more connector back there. I'll put this back in. Okay, now you can see we have tons of room to get in here and take these last couple of connectors off. Oh, this is actually a sub harness right here for the injectors, so you can just unplug it and leave the intake on to pull the engine. That's good to know. And then these coils over here, they also need to get unplugged so we can take the rest of the harness off of this engine and leave it in the car. So we'll keep cracking. Okay, we're hungry and tired. It's almost 9 o'clock. Oh no, it's only 8:15. And we have got this engine hoist hooked up. Trying to get this thing up and out of here tonight. So we're just putting a little bit of tension on it. I'm gonna get underneath there and we are going to pop this thing out. I just need to get those other couple bolts. I think we're gonna go up with the lift a little. We're here with both of the blocks out of the car. We've got them sitting here, and we are tearing down the new block to put all of our components from the original motor onto this. We have only a couple things that I think really matter, and one is the intake manifold. We had to pull this one off because the intake manifold off this 2015 has intake runner flaps inside of it. Right here we have these intake runner flaps, and they run all through the inside of this intake manifold, and they flap to kind of create different amounts of airflow. And if you look at the back of this guy over here, it has nothing. So once more, you can see the 2015 has sensor and a stepper motor, and this one has nothing. So that's the biggest component that's different between these two. Then we've also gone through, just to be safe, and changed all of our cam sensors. We're going to be taking our cam phasers from the other motor, which are right here, off, and replacing them. I think our valve covers are the exact same. We could reuse those from the old motor. But yeah, we're just slowly but surely plugging away on this. We've got up here on the front, I've got pieces coming off of here. You know, it's not that pretty, and it looks like it's been leaking something over here. So we're gonna change this thermostat housing anyway, this whole thermostat, and that'll get rid of all this nastiness up in here. Hey guys, so we have the two motors kind of broken down. We have got pretty much everything off of the old motor that we're going to put onto this new used motor. You can see we've cleaned it up. We've got a new thermostat here. We're running, you know, some of the old components we're reusing just to kind of save cost on the build. We tested this guy with the leak down tester and got about 80% leakage across every single hole, all 6 cylinders. So the customer just wants to throw it in and run it and see if that'll help it kind of clear up with a couple heat cycles. We're losing all of our pressure through the valves, so I think just from sitting, those valves have kind of oxidized a little bit. We've cleaned them. We've cleaned everything in here, cleaned all the dirt and grit out. and hopefully it runs. But this is going to be an experiment. You guys are going to be able to see if this thing clears up. Junkyard motor. Right here we have a whole mess of parts that we're getting ready to throw on. We've cleaned up our solenoid. We've got a bunch of Nissan gaskets that are kind of hard to find. We've got new power steering hoses. Just new, everything you can think of. We've got a new PCV valve. Just lots of things to kind of help make sure this thing runs at its top. So we're going to start throwing some of this on and we'll get ready to slam it in. We have this long block all reassembled. We have taken everything off of the old motor and installed it onto this. Just to kind of go through some of the stuff we've done, we have changed every single sensor or solenoid or ignition coil injector from the old motor onto this. If you come to this back end, I can show you some of the stuff we've got going on back here. We had variable displacement runners that used to run here, and we've deleted those by using the intake manifold from the old car. We have the cam sensors that have been swapped over, thermostat, you've got your crank. We even have the cam solenoids, like I said. Down here we've got an oil pressure sender. This is the only thing on the entire engine that is different on the entire block. The newer VQ40DE engines had a second sensor here. I don't know what it's for, but it has a port here, whereas the old motor does not. We've swapped over our oil cooler. We've got a new O-ring behind the oil cooler. We've swapped over this coolant crossover pipe, replaced that O-ring. We've replaced our exhaust manifold gaskets. We've got new valve cover gaskets, brand new NGK iridium spark plugs, factory recommended, new PCV valve right here. We've replaced this section of crankcase breather hose with some fuel resistant diesel hose because the old ones look like this on both cars, split wide open. So this will get us a nice good clean seal, and it was sitting in the shop. We had it on hand. Other than that, we've got it all buttoned up. We've got a new thermostat up on front, and we're ready to throw this thing in. Okay, we're on the Xterra, and I am doing a cooling system pressure test. So right now I have my pressure tester hooked up to the surge tank. We've got the radiator cap on over here. This thing has two radiator caps. And what I've done is I have previously pressurized this about 5 minutes ago, and you can see now that I have dropped down to just 5 psi. So I'm going to show you real world kind of what I do when I get done putting an engine in or doing a cooling system repair. It's this. So I pump it up. There's no coolant, no water in here in any of the cooling system, and I like to run this. So and I just pump it like crazy to bring myself up to about maybe 10% more than the rating on the radiator cap. That way I know if something's gonna fail, it's gonna fail here and not while the customer's driving. There I have the gauge pumped up to what I want. It's at 15 psi, just a hair below. I'll go up a little more. Okay, so there I have the gauge set at 15 psi, and with the magic of video editing, you guys will watch this thing drop. So as you can see, it's already dropped down to about almost 13.5 psi, which is totally not acceptable. It should hold this pressure for a long time. So I'm going to show you guys how I find where the leak's coming from with no coolant in the system. So this is what I like to do. I like to spray soapy water on it. This is just, and look it, you see those bubbles trickling out of there right here? That's our problem. This hose clamp and this hose are not set in a way that's going to keep this from leaking. So I need to reposition the hose, reposition the clamp, and we'll be good to go. We pulled this hose back and you can see there's a little bit of deposits on it, and I just need to clean it a little better. That's the good thing about doing these pressure tests. You get to find every little thing that you might have missed so that the customer doesn't have this thing losing coolant while they're driving down the road. Okay, so I've cut about 1 inch of the hose off right here. And we're going to be running a worm clamp, and that's just going to help ensure that this thing really seals as good as it can. You can watch me. Okay, we're at 15 psi. And I still see it moving. Son of a freaking. Under the car, draining the coolant because I filled it. I couldn't find my last leak. I was pressure testing it, spraying it with soap, and couldn't find it. Filled it up with coolant, pressure tested it, and this hose right here to the oil cooler had a pinhole leak in it. And that was could only find that once I pressure tested it and got it to really push out and through with coolant in it. So sometimes you have to fill it up. So we're just catching it into a fresh, clean bucket so that we can reuse it. We've got all those leaks repaired, and we've pressurized this, and we are holding steady now at 15 psi indefinitely. So I've had this pressurized for about 5 minutes now, and it's not moving. I'll leave it pressurized for another about 10-15 just to make sure, and then I'll refill it with coolant and we'll be good to go. Okay, go ahead and fire her up. So we're gonna fire her up. That clicking is the there she goes, she runs good. So that clicking is the one of the actuators for the HVAC system. It goes away after the car runs for a little bit, but let's see this thing pull out. Wow, I am blown away that it runs this good with such bad leak down test. There we go. She's out. Let's go for a drive. Doesn't know how to unlock the door, neither do I. Well, sounds like we got her all wrapped up. Hello, fire truck.